130 of the VUC. If you're listening live on zipdx.com or the MP3 stream, go to vuc.me/live to watch the video of this session. Our thanks to companies who have supported the VoIP Users Conference. Our friends at simwood.com can turn developers into telcos with their leading API. Check that out, simwood.com. The VUC's PBX and my own company's PBX is onsip.com. Onsip.com. Check that out for hosted VoIP. We also want to thank long-term supporter David Frankel with zipdx.com, full-featured conference bridge, which you may well be listening to right now or talking on if you're using SIP. The local rate dial-ins in 48 cities are provided by voxbone.com. Hey everybody. So before we get started, I got to mention Kamailio World 2013 in Berlin. It's April 15th to 17th. Come and meet us. We're going to have a big VUC panel. We'll probably try to do a hangout or something, but check that out and go to vuc.me/K, the letter K, and you'll find it. Still getting a little bit of return back. I don't know where that's coming from. But today we have the pleasure of welcoming from SIP, from AG Projects and SylkServer. First of all, Adrian Georgescu, this is not your first visit here, but thanks for coming back.
Hello, Randy. Thanks for inviting me again.
You're welcome. And Saul is also with us. Hey, Saul.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Great to see you folks again. And I'm sorry you're not going to be in Berlin. Saul, you're not going to Berlin either?
No, I'm not going to Berlin.
What a disappointment, because these guys know how to party, and we're going to prove that right now. Adrian, why don't we get started with just an intro? If you want to introduce AG Projects, it's been about at least a year since you've been on, but you can also just go with SylkServer. We should also mention Blink in passing. Go ahead.
Okay, thanks. So for those who don't know, a short introduction. My name is Adrian Georgescu. I'm the founder and CEO of AG Projects. AG Projects is a software vendor of real-time communication solutions. We're based in the Netherlands. We have a distributed team. We have several people in different countries working together using the very technology we develop. Our customers are typically large operators deploying SIP-based services, but we expanded into also consumer products and applications in the Mac App Store with Blink for Mac. And we target also other niches related to our core competence. So we are doing this for 10 years now, and we do a lot of things, but today's focus would be one of the projects, and basically the results of 3 years of hard work that was put into it. And this project is called SylkServer, and I will share the screen actually to hide my image and just show more about the product and its history and what it does. Screen share. I'll choose all my desktop. Now I have no feedback anymore. Do you hear me? Oh, you hear me. All right. There is no comfort noise or anything. All right. So SylkServer is, as I said, a project we've been working for the last 3 years. As a company, we are developing a lot of server software related to SIP technology and now also XMPP. We're doing this for 10 years now. We have been traditionally involved only with servers. We're affiliated with the OpenSIPs project, which is a popular SIP server. And we have started to develop endpoints back in 2008. So right now we have a portfolio that covers both client and server solutions. With SylkServer, we want to bridge the gap of realizing unified communications across any open standard-based protocol that allows addressing using user domain format. So as we depart from the telephone number realm, we would like to achieve, interoperability worldwide, internet style, with any type of solution that talks an open protocol. And today we support SIP and XMPP. They both support same addressing scheme, namely user at domain. So you can host your own service. You can create your own accounts under your own domain. You are able to host your own solution, similar like an email server. So this SIP and XMPP protocols both allow end users to realize real-time communications hosted by themselves rather than using large corporations or services like Skype or others. So these technologies have been deployed in the last couple of years, and both SIP and XMPP have been used for what they were doing best at. So SIP was mostly used for VoIP calls, and XMPP was used for instant messaging and presence. And there was this, and still is, this growing need of having multimedia, meaning doing all relevant media for an end user. As an end user experience, all relevant media would be like audio, video, chat, file transfer, and presence. This set of features seem to define what a real-time communications client is, and none of the existing solutions is able to fulfill all these requirements properly. So right now we're in this moment when everyone is looking for the best way to achieve this. So many people use SIP, others use XMPP, and the question is, how do we call each other? How do we reach each other? And there are various projects out there to try to fill this gap. I would mention one initiative from BlueJimp. They promote a solution at both IETF and XMPP Foundation that is focused from the client side to have multi-stack client. Because we are traditionally a server-based company, we took a different approach to solve the same problem, whereas we created a gateway that should be transparent and could be installed by anyone providing either the SIP service or the XMPP service, could be installed very easily without any special configuration, and it should translate whatever happens in one protocol into the other. And for the end user, this should happen transparently, meaning they should not be aware of the fact that the user at the domain address they are communicating with are either on the SIP side or XMPP side. So with this target in mind, we started developing SylkServer in early 2011. He was built on top of an MSRP chat server, which was an initial project started in 2009 to do multi-party chat with SIP and MSRP protocols. And that was the base that gives us the boilerplate for adding more features. And in the end, we started rewriting the server from scratch when Saul joined our team. And SylkServer right now is practically achieving the maturity we aimed when we started. So we could call it version 1.0, though the version number may be confusing. But this is the moment where, for me personally, I consider the server reaching the level of maturity that we aimed when we started. So this would be, in my view, version 1.0. So what is it? What is this software capable of doing? Well, as you see the diagram, practically it sits in the middle of two different worlds, XMPP and SIP, and practically is able to translate all relevant media from from one protocol to the other. Practically, you can have a SIP service as a service provider, and in order to send establish audio sessions or starting chat sessions to an XMPP remote domain, you need a gateway function. So SylkServer fulfills this need to gateway from SIP to XMPP and vice versa. So it's perfectly symmetrical. It can be installed in a XMPP network to bridge out to SIP world, or in a SIP network to bridge out to XMPP world. So it's doing peer-to-peer, end-to-end translation for sessions that have audio media, instant messaging, and presence. And beyond the peer-to-peer aspect, what it does beyond what other solutions are on the market is able to do multi-party conferencing for all these named media types for both protocols at the same time. And practically, this allows really ubiquitous communication and also mixing people from different, using different clients and different protocols, mixing them in the same conference. And an example of such conference is, for instance, what right now VUC is providing. We have right now an audio bridge, and we have an IRC channel where people exchange text. We have also Google Hangouts where we can do multimedia, including video. So SylkServer is able to provide all these services, with the exceptions of video today, in an open standard and open source way. And I will switch now. I would like to have more interaction with you guys. So speaking here alone, it's no comfort noise or anything like this. So I'm not even sure you're hearing me. I would like to get back together with you guys and start the demo together.
Okay, we're going to do that. I'm going to bring everybody in one by one. They will need to unmute themselves, of course. And we have Randall Schwartz with us, Saul, as I mentioned before, Peter Dunkley just appeared, Life, the famous author, Jesus Perez, who seems to be in an empty room at the moment, James Bodie, the incontournable James Bodie, Dan Lane, Mr. Robert B. Bowles, and of course Adrian. Okay, first thing I guess is, does anybody have any questions at this point? We also have ZipDX, of course. Anyone out in ZipDX land want to ask any questions?
Hi, Adrian.
Hello.
It's Peter.
Hi, Peter.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about the QSAC stuff.
Yes.
Would it be possible to use SylkServer with a multi-stack client? So actually, you know, if you actually had a client that was a multi-stack client, because, for example, Jitsi presence may well be better on XMPP than on SIP, could you actually connect the XMPP stack to the XMPP side of SylkServer, the SIP stack to the SIP side of SylkServer, and then have that interwork with other people who are just using single stack clients?
Well, the answer is not easy to give, because what you described, if I take a pencil and I try to draw it, we end up with a complex topology, and
yeah.
It's not a Boolean question. I can do my best to explain how SylkServer works, and by doing the demo, perhaps you can see its potential, and perhaps it fulfills your requirements. But I think it's best to see the demo, because then probably even the questions can be more focused, because of course it's a very wide subject, and where we connect everything to anything. So allow me to first provide the demo and then come back to your question after the demo.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Randy, shall we proceed?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was playing around trying to, there's a little bit of echo. I don't know where it's coming from. So I'm trying to see if it's being generated on my end, but I'm still hearing it, so that's not that fader. Sorry about that.
Do you see right now my desktop, or do you see my image?
Right now we're looking at you, but
okay.
You just need to share you.
So the purpose of this demo, to show what we have created, is actually to provide access to ZipDX bridge using, for those of course who want to do this test, to either use Blink or Jitsi if they have it installed, and configure it in the following way. I'll paste a link in the IRC chat, where we describe what needs to be done to practically join the VUC room, the audio bridge of ZipDX, and the IRC page, using either of those two clients. So if you have Jitsi installed on your computer, or if you have Blink for Mac, also for Windows is possible, but only with audio, practically by using either of these two clients, and actually on the XMPP side, any client, and on the for chat, and on the SIP side, any SIP client for audio, you should be able to follow the instructions in that page to practically connect to the VUC room, the ZipDX bridge. And I will show you my desktop so that everyone can see how this can be done. First of all, the link with the configuration, I'll share the desktop here. Where is the sharing? Screen share desktop. Is my desktop visible now?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so there is this address, which is vuc@conference.sip2sip.info. This address is supposed to be reachable from both worlds, from SIP and XMPP alike. So using whatever client you have, we suggest Blink and Jitsi because we have tested them for all media types. You should be able to use any SIP client to connect it to this address, and any XMPP client to connect as a multi-party chat room. And you should all end up in the VUC IRC page and have access to the wideband audio channel provided by ZipDX.
This is going to be really interesting.
Could you repeat that? Could you repeat that, Earl? I want to see if I can get my free switch to join in here.
So you have on this page, I'm sharing the desktop right now.
Yeah, but John can't see it. So is there a way we can say it? Is there a way we can say it?
Yes.
A short URL?
What client are you using? What client?
Free switch.
Free switch. Okay. You have to configure the following target address, or I don't know how we call it in free switch.
Yeah, I can just say SIP colon and then the.
Yeah, VUC at conference dot sip2sip.info.
SIP the number 2?
Yeah, SIP number 2 sip.info.
All right, I'll try that. Thanks.
Okay. So any SIP client that is able to dial a SIP URI, not just a phone number, should be able to connect there for audio only. With Blink, I have Blink right now in front, and the way you do it with Blink for Mac, you go to menu Call, click on Join Conference, enter VUC, and you can join with both chat and audio. I will just do chat, otherwise I'll have 2 audio channels in parallel. So practically using SylkServer, SylkServer also, besides SIP and XMPP, supports IRC. So practically we're bridging 3 worlds together, SIP, XMPP, and IRC. So this is a SIP client, which is unaware of any other protocol than SIP. And I'm able to display the chat, the whole chat session from the VUC IRC room, and the participants from it, again using pure SIP-related protocols and standards. And then I can do the same. Yeah.
I can give a view of IRC here, so if somebody can start trying.
So if people join, we will see them appearing here.
Yeah.
Now with Jitsi, I can do the same. I have Jitsi here, and I say File, go to Chat Room. I saved it here. It's the same URL. I'll do OK. So Jitsi is connecting right now to the room, and as you can see, it has on the right side the participant list, and the chat text window is getting populated with the same messages. As you see in the IRC room, in the SIP client, in Blink. So basically you have 2 different clients using completely 2 different protocols, which gives the same end user experience. So this is happening because SylkServer is practically translating all these protocols between themselves and realizes the mixing of all these media types for all 3 different protocols. So if I type a message here in Blink, what happens? Blink, using MSRP media type, is connecting to SylkServer, and SylkServer is actually acting like a dispatcher for all text messages that are sent using MSRP. And for every XMPP endpoint is dispatching the message using a stanza for the message type. And on the IRC is using a similar primitive. So all these three different technologies, which in the end, even the web page looks the same. Where is the IRC? I don't think I have an IRC web window. So VUC.me/IRC. So I can join the IRC room using web interface. DSEPA. This is CAPTCHA thing. So right now we have an IRC client implemented in a web page. We have Blink, which is pure SIP client, and XMPP client Jitsi. They all provide the same end user experience for their respective protocols. And this is the magic that SylkServer does. And for this, except for an installation procedure, which on Debian equivalates to apt-get install SylkServer, practically there is nothing to configure. It just works with no configuration. And that makes it easy to use because it's hiding the whole complexity behind some proper defaults we have chosen. You can still change a lot of things if you know what you're doing, but if you don't know absolutely anything about all these protocols, if you know just SIP, you can install this and you automatically have access to all these media types in XMPP. And vice versa. If you just know XMPP and you have absolutely no idea about SIP, you can install this, and with your knowledge, you are able to use it. Nothing feels alien, and all the logging and all the things that SylkServer provides are easy to be understood by any Unix type of administrator, Linux, person with Linux experience. And the person who wrote this software actually is here. It's Saul. So now that you have seen it at work, then you can ask.
We have him on
technical
screen.
question.
There he is, directly for your visual pleasure. Well, how many lines of code, Saul?
Well, a few. But I have to say that a good thing is that we're somehow standing on the shoulders of giants. So a lot of the stuff that that we leveraged for the XMPP gateway, it was somehow there. It's just that it wasn't adapted for our needs, so we took it and blended it with what we had. Particularly since we already used a framework called Twisted in Python, we leveraged the library called Vocal. And this library provides us with the basic tools for doing XMPP that allowed us to do presence and chat pretty quickly. Jingle wasn't there, so we had to do that from scratch. And we did it sort of our way because of what needs we have. And my plan now that we released this version is to contribute this support back upstream, so that we don't need to keep it to ourselves, even if it's open source already. It's just that it'll require a bit of work on my side to well, tailor it to the likings of the author itself. Sorry.
Yeah, we haven't shown the audio part, but that would deter us from this bridge here, so it will sound weird. But everything you've seen was just chat, but also audio works from both clients. Saul, maybe you can share your desktop to make a jingle call to the bridge.
Maybe I can. Let's see. I have two screens, so I don't really know.
Oh, let me do it then. Let me do it. It's easier for me. I will share my screen.
So what he will demo now is a jingle call. Jingle is the standard for making audio and video calls on XMPP.
Is my screen visible now?
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
Okay, so to start an audio call from Jitsi, you have to create a contact. For some reason, I don't know why. In Blink, we don't need to. You can just type it here in the bar. Perhaps it's an XMPP requirement to create a body, but I'm not sure. Anyway, I created a contact, and once you create it, I put it here. It's called VUC, which contains the URI I just gave you. And you see this call button is enabled. I will call it. So this starts a pure jingle audio call. It's ringing now. I'm not sure where the audio goes. It's in my headset. But and you see the same thing. You see the participants, which are actually all the IR. Oh no, we have a loop. So
yeah, you better mute the microphone or just hang up.
Yes, I hang up. So in the jingle call, you could see the participants list. That works using a new protocol, which has been proposed by Emily Voff from Blue Gym. It's called COIN, which practically disseminates the same information we have in SIP using conference info event package. There is an equivalent for that to use in XMPP for Jingle multi-party sessions. So they're really compatible and very easy to translate one into another. So everything you can do in SIP with multi-party conferencing in terms of publishing media types, endpoints, participants, all these resources that are shared within the conference, you can do the same with XMPP and this COIN thing. And now with SylkServer, they are perfectly compatible one with another. So you can have the same features on XMPP, meaning multi-party audio conference with participants list, and on SIP you can have the same. And you can multi-party all of them together.
So have we been able to get anybody to call in?
Let's see, did anyone join there?
There's one Vaharm which is on hold.
James Body with an iPhone. I can see him here. And I can see John Kovic. Or
Kovici. He's the person who, John is the one who asked about it.
No, whether they hear us or not, I don't know. I hope they do.
Okay, he says
they're on mute.
Okay, John says he's in, and he said your Berea is too loud. I'm not sure what.
I guess his SIP client is too loud, but again, this has nothing to do with.
Yeah, no, I'm not sure.
Yeah, take into account that right now there's sort of three universes. So there is the Google Hangouts universe, the ZipDX universe, and the SylkServer universe.
And the SylkServer universe is what he's calling the lobby, I think. On IRC, J.
Yeah, I guess so.
Well, where do you end up when you first arrive? That would be the SylkServer universe, right?
Yeah, so
With
if you dial that
client,
URI, you will end up in our conference bridge, which Adrian is bridging audio from ZipDX there right now. So that's why they are hearing us. They are in this.
I use Blink to do a client-side audio conferencing.
He said JHH says he hears elevator music, so it's music on hold, obviously. Where would he be?
Oh, did I unmute? Well, he can't unmute because because you are not in ZipDX. You're practically the whole SylkServer room is a leg on ZipDX. So you cannot unmute yourself.
Do I need to unmute that
party within that conference? Well, if you unmute that leg, it's valid for everyone. I think it's.
We could do that for a second. Oh, here it is. It's under your name, is it?
Yeah, it's under my name. Yes, that's the leg that bridges it in.
Okay, let's get ready for some hilarious acid flashback type feedback.
Okay, unmute that channel.
Okay, this is the leg. So somebody say hello.
Now unmuted. Somebody say hello.
Oh, Emil is there.
And there's echo.
Hello, this is James.
Everybody's
What about on the?
He is.
But we should have individual controls. Can't you do the unmute that and then they have the individual ones on the SylkServer?
Well, again, unmute. It's a command for ZipDX.
No. But what about on the SylkServer? How do you mute or unmute that?
Okay.
Oh,
I think
SylkServer doesn't have this capability. It's allowing everyone to talk, and there is no mute command on SylkServer. That would be, let's say, a feature for the audio bridge. We don't have that.
And I did remute it because the audio obviously is suffering from a lot of overload, and the levels aren't right. It's because it's kind of an improvised. But hey, that we proved it works. It was the hello world of the oral, hello world. We saw it, and it worked.
Yeah, so rooms in SylkServer are kind of like ad hoc. So there is no complex, weird form you need to fill in to decide who is the moderator or anything. Anybody can kick anybody which is authorized by the domain. So that's by us hosting the conference is able to invite more people in and so on. So we have kept it simple in that regard, and so far we use it a lot to talk within the team, and we never had the need to add more complex controls to mute or I don't know what so far.
Yeah, this is not really a replacement for ZipDX. It's not meant to be that, but
No.
I think one of the questions that would be good would be, first of all, what scenarios are
Well, actually,
are they used
everything possible with ZipDX, it is possible to do with SylkServer with additional development.
Yeah.
So
because
anything that travels in the media plane, RTP, DTMF, all these things, the support exists. Somebody has to write a few lines of Python to, take the DTMF input and do something with it.
Right. This is a toolbox. I did want to ask, though, for people who are interested in this, great question. I'm sure Randall would ask this on his show. Would be, what do you need? What is needed to? I mean, who should download this and start trying to install it? Obviously, you need to know a little bit about what you're doing.
First of all, you need
hardware?
a SIP service, and you ask from this perspective. Well, any computer can run it, and of course, you need resources to mix audio. But I mean, any decent computer today would mix 50, 100 calls easily.
What OS?
Sorry?
What OS? Any Linux?
Okay, so the software is written in Python, but there are all kind of dependencies. So it is packaged for Debian and Ubuntu, the latest flavors. And if you are experienced with manual Python installations, you can run it in your local folder on your computer if you do it the Python way. But if you don't know about Python, you just want to use prepackaged software, then you need a Debian or Ubuntu machine, and that's it. As I said, there is no need. There is a need to configure at least the domain you are bridging, but of course, we assume you know this. You have to put it into the DNS. So to give you an example, we have SIP2SIP.info. In order to allow the SIP clients to find the SIP server for this domain, you have to publish where the server is located into the DNS. And then if you have this SylkServer gateway to XMPP, then you actually point the XMPP records for SIP2SIP.info to SylkServer. So whomever talks XMPP, if they want to send a message or start a session to anyone at SIP2SIP.info, they find it into the DNS, and what they actually find is actually a SIP server. And SylkServer will bridge the session request into the SIP side, and will do its own DNS lookup to locate the SIP server for SIP2SIP.info, and will send the session further there. And vice versa is also true. So you need to put a domain into the DNS at least.
Does a machine need to be on a public IP address to be addressable?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because it is an XMPP server, and an XMPP server needs to be found and be reachable. If you put it behind NAT, there is no such thing as an XMPP server behind NAT concept.
So hi, this is Randall Schwartz from Philosophy Weekly, and I have a couple of open source related questions. Okay. So I understand this package is open source. What other packages are you leveraging on that are open source, and what license do you have this under?
So the software is licensed under GPL version 2.
Mm-hmm.
It has some dependencies which are listed on the website. So if you go to SylkServer.com, it depends mainly on, let's see, if we go to download. The dependencies are, of course, Python because it's written in Python. And the major dependency would be the Python SIP simple library, which practically provides the whole mechanics of things happening there, which is, again, GPL. The other dependencies, which are namely Python application, SQL object, twisted, backports, and eventlib. I don't know the license by heart, but basically the whole project is GPL version 2.
Yeah, that sounds
Twisted
good.
is
So what's your profit model on this? Why is this a labor of love, or you got a business built around this, or what?
We always looked at how to create useful things, because if you create really useful things, sometimes business model happen that you didn't think before you started doing that.
Yeah, sometimes that works.
I don't know, call it intuition, but I always work like this. So if the idea is cool enough and useful enough, somebody in the end starts paying for it in a weird way that you never thought before.
Okay, so you're in the romantically hopeful mode. Okay, I got it.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
I think this might be a question that Randall would have asked, because he made some comments earlier that I won't repeat. Why the choice of Python? I'm always interested in why people use languages, because the real reason to use a language is because either it's the only thing you're familiar with or the best, but also there are good reasons usually. So why Python?
In our case, in my company, it was the choice of my CTO, Dan Pascu. He's not here, but he said Python is the way, and then we chose Debian as an operating system, and whatever we chose based on his guess was always a good guess. So it's a choice he made, and our company was modeled around these choices, of course. But we never had any regrets for choosing Python. So.
Well, Google uses Python pretty extensively, maybe even almost their first go-to language in a lot of their apps and stuff. So it's not that
Python is pretty powerful. It's easy to write code in it. It's running directly. You don't need to compile it. It's easy to prototype stuff, and you find libraries doing absolutely any kind of function already written. And for those we didn't find, we have to write it ourselves. But Python seems to be, versatile enough. I mean, even, Blink on Mac is written in Python, and it's a native Mac Cocoa application, because even Cocoa has Python bindings. So you write native Python code that shows a native Mac application.
That's interesting.
So it's pretty versatile. It works on almost any operating system on Earth. It's really the multi-platform, easy to use class-oriented language. It's not the only one, of course, but it's one of the languages that over time proved to be a good investment into.
AG projects, media proxy we put a lot of media sessions through it, and it's in Python. It just works.
Yeah, there were initially some religious discussions. People didn't like media proxy to be written in Python because it is slower than a C counterpart, but a C written program. But again, we always looked at if it's fast enough for the purpose, rather than thinking in theoretical terms. So right now, media proxy, for instance, to achieve speed, is using Python for all the logic that is driving the whole call setup. But the actual heavy work and heavy lifting, the packet relay function, is done by the Linux kernel directly. Practically, Python code is just used to instruct the kernel, which IB tables rules to insert and remove. So we degraded the Python code from the RTP media doesn't go to user space practically. Only the first few packets, because we want to know what's happening there and decide, for instance, if there is an ICE-related probe or pure RTP audio. But otherwise, the sessions are relayed directly by the Linux kernel. So media proxy is really just containing logic and not the actual relay part.
We put about 200 sessions per core on probably a few dozen machines, and a lot of our sessions will
using a few thousands per core.
Okay, we got room to grow. Good.
Yeah, yeah, and again, by design, when we made Media Proxy from day one, you could have as many as you want relays. So you have a distributed model by design from day one. So all this relationship between how many SIP servers there are and how many media relays there are, the whole thing was designed to be scalable from day one. And if one machine is not enough, you can always add horizontally as many as you want.
Who else has questions? This is a good time to ask them.
I've got a quick one, James.
Yeah, James.
One of the most powerful things about SylkServer is the way that you can handle multi-party chat, but with
Thanks for noticing.
with that is persistent. So you can have people that drop out of the multi-party, come back in, and they get filled back in with the chat that's gone on whilst they're out.
Yeah, it's beautiful, and you haven't seen all of it. So, for instance, you can do file transfers. You find the files there in the window. You can click on them and fetch them even later if you join into the room. It does all kind of persistency things that makes it feel just natural, and it's a no-brainer. It just acts like you would expect it to act.
Okay, from a licensing point of view, how are we placed for taking SylkServer and then embedding SylkServer into other systems?
Well,
just using
again, as Randall mentioned, the licensing model is relevant when you do this. So whether they're compatible one with another. So as long as the GPL license allows you to do that, nobody stops you doing that.
I've got a question, Adrian.
So coming back to Peter, can we come back to your question, Peter?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're asking from the perspective of having a dual stack client, how you can use SylkServer in this context?
Yes, I'm imagining the situation where you're in a network where you don't just have people who've got SIP clients and XMPP clients. You might have people who've got SIP clients, XMPP clients, and somebody who's actually dual stack as well.
So practically from a design concept, SylkServer is a complete opposite way of solving what Cusack tries to solve. So from a perspective of design, they are both opposite. They achieve the same goal, but in a complete opposite way. So the idea is that you don't need Cusacks, or said differently, you would like to use the best SIP client or the best XMPP client and not have a dual stack. That was the philosophy behind.
Yes, I'm just wondering though, because of course everybody brings their own client, what happens if somebody decides that, from their point of view, the best client is actually a dual stack one?
Right, so SylkServer would work typically in a scenario where you have a SIP operator that wants access to XMPP, but they will not provide a dual stack, and they don't want to do that because it will create complexity. They would need a dual stack infrastructure, not just the clients. Everything must be doubled. So for those who don't prefer this setup and prefer the simple topology SylkServer gateway, which is straightforward, and that's how you do almost every other function, PSTN, gateway, voicemail, whatever. It's pretty straightforward for an engineer to deploy, support, maintain, scale, and so forth. It's a punctual task. Whereas Cusack implies duplicating all infrastructure, starting from client to the servers, and everything has to be duplicated. So you end up with, from the client side, with 2 stacks up to 2 vice presidents in the service provider providing that service. It's complex. It's dual means dual cost. It's higher as cost goes. So our clients are operators, and cost-wise, it's much easier to make a decision about purchasing a gateway rather than duplicating everything in the network.
Okay.
Jerry had a question.
Adrian, kind of curious. I mean, here we are in a Hangout, and we've got we still have the wizard behind the curtain, which is Randy. And I'm kind of curious, at some point, are you guys looking to do a level of integration with the same ability to basically integrate Hangouts into this whole network of media fun that you guys are doing?
Yeah,
that would be fantastic.
The goal is to have a Hangouts type functionality, and the way to achieve this has emerged recently. Namely, there is an initiative from Emily Vov called Colibri, where they created an XMPP component that allows for video mixing, or actually not mixing, but video relay, that allows you to have sort of server-based solution that provides for scalability and can be driven by client behavior. So you can arrange for a Hangout session from the client side. And the whole is very smart, and as far as my experience goes, it's perfectly translatable into the SIP realm as well. So with SylkServer, practically we see a moment when you can do exactly what Hangouts offer today for all media types, and that is within reach. Until last year, I don't think there was a clear way how to achieve a Hangouts in an open standard way and open source way, and also in a way that it's elegant. And I think now we have all the knowledge, and it's very straightforward how to do it. Of course, manpower is required, but at least the blueprint exists, and it looks good. So what Hangouts does today, I think it's within reach for doing it with SylkServer in a reasonable amount of time, providing we found the funding.
More questions, please.
Another quick one. You currently don't support video on the SylkServer, or do you? I just tried again.
No, we don't.
Is it on the roadmap? Is it going to come?
Yes, of course. On our infinite roadmap, we have everything for Ariel. Again, it's a lot of work, and we put resources in the places where we can reap the benefits in the fastest way possible, while also providing for new features. And so yes, of course, we want video, and it's on the roadmap. It was always on like the last thing to do, and we're approaching that moment, because before doing video, which everyone does video, but nobody does what we do. So you can have video, still it's not cool enough unless you use it in a context that makes sense. So we kind of took the long way, securing all this knowledge to understand the process for how to do real-time communications. And very often it's not a punctual task. So in order to do presence, you realize that, well, there is no SIP server doing presence properly. You have to write the whole presence thing yourself. And there is no XCAP server to store the contacts. You have to write an XCAP server yourself. There is no MSRP relay to do net reversal for chat and file transfer, so you have to write an MSRP relay yourself. So you start doing Blink, but you miss many server infrastructure elements that would allow Blink to do what it does today. So it's a long road we have traversed, and it still is, but we're getting somewhere.
Yeah, it's clear you've done an outstanding job with SylkServer. It's very, very clever.
Thank you for the compliment.
Cue the applause. By the way, we're looking for more questions. I was looking for Carl on IRC. Carl, are you listening? We're getting to your spot here, your guest spot. And if he's not, okay, back to downloading and installing. Obviously, there's a simple path that's visible when you go to SylkServer.com. By the way, is that the main domain? That wasn't the domain I was looking at earlier. Is that the best way?
We have SylkServer.
Oops. Hold on, I don't know if you can hear me. You first
click on help, you end up in a different place.
Have we lost ZipDX?
Well, no. For me,
No, but I lost Adrian for a few
yeah,
seconds.
Adrian,
myself.
you were frozen a little bit and so on, and actually lost what you said. And
Can
most
you
of
hear me now?
Yeah, try that again.
Yeah, we hear you.
Okay, so SylkServer.com, it's the placeholder for the place you go for SylkServer. And if you click on help, you end up on our wiki page. It's another external website where we host all our documentation. And so as I said, we maintain more software than SylkServer. We maintain 29 software packages, and we have a place where we manage all the source code and the documentation for all projects, and that's hosted in this dedicated website, projects@agprojects.com. And SylkServer is the place where if you are interested in SylkServer, first go there because there is some high-level information, but if you drill down into the links, you'll end up on our wiki, but you should just know about SylkServer.com.
Emil asked a great question in IRC. I'm going to read it. I need to go for just about 90 seconds. I have this thing I have to take care of. AG Projects team did an awesome job on bringing rich conference information to the XMPP world. Maybe you could ask Adrian to elucidate. That's a great question.
Maybe you can ask what?
By the way, now we see your glasses, but I think your laptop slipped or something. Thank you, Adrian. He said,
I'm trying to...
Yeah. No, I mean, tell us about the rich conference information to XMPP world. In other words, some of your work that you did to get this thing working. It works, but
the
how did this come about?
That is 45. This is it's funny, but we look at a bizarre world where it seems that SIP clients with XMPP servers, it's a good combination. We end up doing stuff in XMPP servers that originally were designed for SIP clients, and vice versa. So the root of all this conference rich information things and how you can do cool stuff with multi-party conferencing is this RFC 4575. Practically, this is an XML document that describes all resources part of a conference, participants, endpoints, media types, status. And this document, practically, you subscribe to it using subscribe notify mechanism. In SIP, practically, you start a session, and with SIP protocol, the server or the endpoint that provides the multi-party session tells in the answer to the endpoint, hey, I'm also a focus, which means I'm able to do multi-party conferencing. And then if you get this indication on SIP, you start a subscription, and you ask for this payload, which is described in this RFC 4575. And this payload contains, by the way, is on SylkServer. There is an example of this payload, which contains the description of the conference resources. And the very same RFC 4575 is used by this coin extension in XMPP to provide the same information. So practically you're talking about the same payload in both worlds, which makes it very easy to... How many lines of code do you have to write, Shaul, to transform the SIP functionality and make it available for XMPP?
5.
5 lines.
And so, 2 are the workaround. So they're very, very little. They basically are the same. This is... Emil actually championed that XEP, which is XEP 298. This is the specification for using the conference info payload with the XMPP protocol to deliver conference information with participants that are in an audio or video conference. And they provided the first implementation, of course, with Jitsi. And I Googled around, and we are providing the second one. So we're very happy that it actually works so transparently that we didn't even need to touch the content of the payload. Whatever comes on the SIP side, we just send it on the XMPP side, and Jitsi will render that list of all the participants that you saw earlier. And you either are invited to a conference or you join it yourself. So in SIP, both audio and chat are somehow blended together in a single call, but this is not the case on XMPP. You have the group chat on one side, and then you have Jingle on the other side. And Coin somehow allows us to also deliver participant information to those who are only on the audio and video side and don't have the group chat to see all the participants. So this way we managed to achieve the same user experience for the XMPP users joining our conference rooms that are actually hosted on the SylkServer mixer, which is SIP-based.
Yes, actually all this work that you see happening in SylkServer, even if you connect with an XMPP endpoint, all functionality is done SIP-wise. So funny enough, people will say, oh, you can't do stuff with SIP, it's not flexible, or the standards are not there. Well, believe me, they are. It's just they're not properly, summarized what you should use what for, but all the primitives are there. There are perhaps too many to know about, but in the end, all the primitives are there. We just have to use them. So Blink is 100% SIP, and it looks like a rich client and like Skype, but many people said it's not possible to do chat with SIP properly. You can't do file transfer. You can't do screen sharing. That's not true. We managed to do everything. And in the end, when we had to translate from all protocols, well, not because you knew more SIP, but it just worked. But it's complex, and probably not everyone has found the way. So complexity is a big problem with SIP, but working with XMPP for a while, complexity is present in both places, and it's inherently the problem you try to solve. Real-time communication is not a simple task. It's not a punctual task. It contains different media types, and its complexity is similar in both sides. And there are multiple possible solutions. So again, this is not a war between SIP and XMPP, or which one is better, or which one is right, which is wrong. The problem is so complex that no single solution exists to solve all possible requirements. So we have seen that we are able to combine somehow XMPP server-side features with SIP functionality in a way that doesn't break any standard, doesn't invent any new standard, but it achieves, as an end-user experience goes, the right thing.
In case maybe someone is sort of interested in that particular aspect, like as Adrian said, both worlds are complex in its own way, and well, we managed to bridge between them. So we put together this wiki page I'm pasting in the IRC room, which is the design documents for how we're doing the translation, and we are involved in this in the sense that we leveraged others' work as well here. So Peter St. Andre and others started writing ITF drafts for how to do this translation, but they had been unmodified since 2008. And fortunately, right now, they have been brought back to life. So they are being actively worked on, and we are collaborating in every possible way we can, providing the feedback we learned with all this implementation we made, because, well, a lot of the problems that were actual problems in 2008 are solved right now with new standards and stuff like that. So I see a bright future in this translation between the two protocols, because it will be an official RFC document, so people will know how to do it, which was something somehow not known until now.
Yeah, that's a great description of status. Sometimes standards emerge either too early or too late, and that's life. So now we're in 2013, and when we started all this rich communication client idea, it was 2008. So to get here, it took 5 years. Of course, we're a small team. If we had more people, probably would have been quicker. However, some things you simply cannot do them on your own. You have to wait for some things to mature, some other people to discover some other things. So sometimes you simply cannot do it quicker than it happens, even with infinite resources, because timing is important. So if you start the right project at the wrong time, it fails. and vice versa is true as well. So it's important to find the timing that everyone meets somehow at the end, at the same time. So it seems that now is the moment when finally all pieces exist, and not just the standards, but also libraries and protocols and specifications. Everything seemed to kind of come nicely together finally, which was not the case 5 years ago.
See if we can get somebody from ZipDX to ask a question before we terminate the session. We've been going for about an hour now. Anyone on ZipDX, or anywhere really, but especially our friends on ZipDX who can't be seen? Anybody want to speak? Otherwise, you're going to force me to erase the ZipDX part. Okay. Anyone on the Hangout, anything further? Otherwise, we're going to just, I said otherwise twice in 30 seconds, but there's no good alternative. We're going to conclude by thanking everybody. Adrian, we're always happy. I think of you every week, you guys, both of you actually, because, why? Because we bridge with ZipDX on Blink every single week, and we've been doing this for probably 250 sessions easily.
Wow.
That's great to hear.
And as I think I've already mentioned to you, we actually did a 13-hour session straight on Blink without
hey, James,
any
you should upgrade to the latest version.
Yeah, really. What did it bring, though? I didn't see anything. I just saw that it had to be updated.
No, I mean,
Blink
James
Pro.
Bode is running an old version, and he complains he's crashing. It's crashing, but that's understandable.
Well, it's locked up my MacBook as well.
I've never had.
It's never happened to me before. I hasten to add. I'm a great fan of Blink. It's normally as good as gold, but it's just because you're here, Adrian. It's having a hissy fit.
But do you have Blink Pro, James?
I do not have Blink Pro.
That's probably your problem.
Do I need Blink Pro?
Well, how was it? So we were at FOSDEM, and everyone who gave demonstration used Blink Pro at all the rooms, and those who didn't had terrible presentations. So it seems to be a good choice if you give a live demonstration, because it makes a good. The results are good.
Well, I knock on wood, but for the past 3 years, no demo has failed on me.
Well,
and
that's
I try to travel the world as much as I can.
Unlucky to say that, but I wish you the best. Almost every demo fails on me, but depends on who's around.
That's not true, Randy.
No, we've had good demos. By the way, I saw the name Carl Fife. Carl, are you with us? Can't believe that he didn't do his slot. Okay. Carl is not with us. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. AG Projects, go to SylkServer.com. For those of you listening and not seeing, SylkServer.com. And from there, you will find the El Dorado of all VoIP products. You'll find out how to do everything with SylkServer, XMPP, SIP. You can even call James Bode.
Thanks, everyone, for being here, for listening, and for the good questions.
Thank you. Okay, bye for now. We'll be back with the part 2 for mature audiences only in just a second. Had it been an actual alert, you would have been instructed to go to VUC.me. If you happen to be in the area, please don't miss the chance to come and meet up with the VUC in Berlin. We'll be converging on Kamailio World, which is April 15th through 17th in Berlin. And you can get more information on that at conference.kamailio.com. Check that out, please, and don't miss a chance to taste some wine with us.